Zinno. I'm a commercial embroiderer and author, and today I'd like to share with you one of my new favorite embroidered accessories, monogram boot socks. It's a great way to recycle a sweater that I have here. It's one of my sweaters that I actually shrunk and I don't wear anymore, so I actually cut the sleeves off the sweater just like this and turn them into the monogram boot sock. But first, let's start with cutting off the sleeve. I would also suggest trying on each sleeve, make sure that they fit on your leg properly and that they are tall enough to be seen over your boot, especially when it's monogrammed. That's very important. And then lay your sleeves down on the table. It's going to look like this probably when you cut it off your sweater, have a top rounded edge. So trim up the top portion, both sleeves, and then we're going to find our placement for a monogram. Now start off by laying the sleeve flat. Now look at the sleeve seam. Just like it is on your sleeve sweater, that's going to be on the inside of your leg, so that the monogramming will only be on one area of the boot sock on the outside edge, so it can be seen when worn properly. So I'm going to use my little centering ruler like this, and I measured my edges. It's perfectly centered from each edge and 3 inches from the top edge. I want a nice generous size of fabric to be seen outside at the top of the boot and to fit my monogram, so it's very important. Now, I want to just talk about your lettering a little bit for your monogram. You know, not all fonts and not all embroidery designs are appropriate for monogramming on a sweater. If you notice, this is just a simple ribbed cotton knit sweater, and that really works best when you're going to monogram or embroider on a sweater. So demonstrate and practice on some scrap fabric that you would have, maybe from cut off of the sweater or from another sweater or similar fabric, before you actually stitch your monogram. It's very important to practice your embroidery first, just to make sure that it works. And we're going to use an actual tearaway stabilizer. When you embroider on knits, generally you're going to use a cutaway, but for this instance we need a tearaway because we need it to stretch a little to fit over your leg. So I've hooped my boot sock real simply. I place the inside of the hoop inside the sock with the tearaway stabilizer and gently pull on the fabric, but don't overstretch the knit or it will be warped when you embroider the sock. And then place the fabric inside the hoop nice and tight. Make sure there's no play back there with your target sticker still aligned. Now I'm going to put it on the machine and bring up my embroidery design. Notice how easy it is to embroider a tight cylinder type fabric. It fits right over the bobbin throat area of the machine because I'm using a commercial machine, because that's my specialty. But you can easily do this project with a home machine by cutting the seam down the sleeve of the sweater and hooping it on your home machine. It's very easy. So I brought up my embroidery monogram, and I'm going to use the positioning sticker. And then after I find my location, I'm going to add my water-soluble stabilizer right on top and the basting file to hold down our water-soluble stabilizer, which automatically moves as the first color in your embroidery design. It's tempting not to hold it down sometimes, but it really does hold it in place. And now we're going to embroider the monogram, which again I made approximately 1.75 inches, almost 2 inches tall. Okay. You know, in this commercial embroidery machine, it also offers a cylinder frame, a round cylinder frame that could easily be used to do many small socks, smaller size socks, children's socks, and caps. tiny little knit hats for babies. It's a great accessory to have, especially if you have a business or you're doing it as a hobby. Okay, so here's another finished boot sock that I did with the same monogram that I'm showing you on the white sleeve. And now I'm going to remove it from the hoop. Slide your bottom frame out from underneath. And I just wanted to show you how nice and soft this tearaway stabilizer is. It'll just kind of easily tear off from the back of the boot sock. But first you have to snip all those basting files from the back of the fabric while the stabilizer is still in place. That's very important. Carefully remove that. Don't pull and tug on this, especially on a knit fabric. That's very important. Keeps the shape of the monogram nicely, and you don't want to rip out any stitches and have to redo it. So here's our finished boot sock. So at this point, we're going to try on the boot sock one more time inside out. Okay, this is to kind of alter it to fit your leg properly after the monogramming is complete, because it's easier to monogram and it's easier to hoop your boot sock when it's a little bit wider and you have a little bit more fabric to deal with. So that's why I alter it after the monogramming is complete. So what I did is turn it inside out, mark it with a pin. I try it on my leg, make sure that it fits snugly around my leg. It's not going to slide down when I walk. And then mark it with pins. So just with like a simple straight stitch up from the bottom portion, which is going to be where your ankle is, from the bottom portion up to the top of the boot sock. Then trim if necessary, and fold the edges flat like I've done here. I don't have to really serge anything, it just lays flat. And you can top stitch that if you need to. And this is the point where you would add your trim. I selected a really nice stretchy trim, and I've top stitched that in place, and it's very important that you select a trim that's not going to cover your monogram and that you're going to be able to see the monogramming and embroidery once the trim is in place. So I've already demonstrated that before I embroidered my boot sock. So again, select a nice stretchy decorative trim, lace trim or a home deck type trim, and top stitch it on the top of your boot socks, and I think you have a really great personalized monogrammed accessory.